Good morning. As we go to the Tanya, the Chumash of the day. I'm sorry. Today we are holding. Today's Thursday. Go to the Tanya. Today's Thursday. It's the fifth reading of the portion of Kiseitse. We are holding on chapter 23, verse number 25. When you enter your neighbor's vineyard. There are 74 mitzvahs in this week's parsha. It's a loaded, so to say, a loaded parsha with many commandments. When you come into the vineyard of your neighbor, you may eat as many grapes as you desire, and you shall not put any into your vessels. Rashi says the scripture is speaking of the worker who enters his employer's vineyard to work there, that a worker is allowed to eat from the field while he's working. Kinafshecha, as many as you wish, savecha, that which makes you satiated, not the excessive eating. Well, from here we learn that the Torah is referring to only to the period of the vintage, when you place grapes into the owner's vessel. However, if the worker is entering the vineyard in order to cover the exposed roots, which are on the earth, he may not eat any grapes. So it's only the time when it is the harvest of the land that when the guy is harvesting the land, he's gathering the fruits for the owner of the land. He's allowed to take and eat from the land. He's not allowed to take it home with him, but he's allowed to take and eat it while he's working. When you enter your neighbor's standing grain, you may pick the ears with your hand. You now lift a sickle upon your neighbor's standing grain. So this is again just talking about a worker. The Rashi says the Gemara says we're talking about a worker that while he's doing the grain of his owner of his employer, he's allowed to eat from the grain. He's not allowed to come with a sickle, so to say, and start to chop off the grain for himself. Chapter 24, verse number 1. A man takes a wife and has a relationship with her. And what happens, he does not find favor in his eyes. Because he discovered her in an unseemly immoral act, a moral matter. The kosel of seifes krisus. Here we have the law of divorce, of get. That you have to write a bill of divorce. And he shall give it into his hand, and he can send her away, divorce her. Rashi says, in this case, he is obligated to divorce her. At least he finds favor in his eyes, he might consequently wish to keep her, which he must not do so, because if she sinned, God forbid, if we're talking about that he thinks that there was immorality in the family, in the house, so then he's not allowed to keep her. If he thinks that his wife had an affair, then he's not allowed to keep her, he has to divorce her. But here we learn that to say for Kriz, you have to give a get. You have to give a bill of divorce. And he leaves his house. And she may go and marry another person. Rashi says, over here we're talking about who differs from her first husband. For the one sent her, the evil woman, out of his house, where this man is taking him into her. And we're talking, if the pasuk is talking about a specific kind of case where there was infidelity, and infidelity on the wife's part, that she had an affair. So the Torah says you have to get divorced. You cannot choose to get divorced. If a person has an affair and there's no witnesses, so even though we cannot put the person to death in Torah because you have to have witnesses, but he's not allowed to be married anymore to her. And therefore, she has to go and get divorced. He has to divorce her. And now she'll marry. So who else is going to take her in? And that's what's going to happen to her. As a person that has an affair will ultimately be, so to say, a continuous situation. Son, and what's going to happen is going to be that the second husband is going to divorce her. Because of Sefer Knesset, v'nasim b'yada, v'shilchum b'beisa. What happens if the second husband passes away? Asher lach kol isha, we took her as a wife. Now she says, this the pasuk has come to tell you that that will eventually happen. Eventually, if a man marries an immoral woman and is hoping that this is going to change in general, if you're going to think you're going to marry somebody to change them, you're making a big mistake. You don't change anybody. And therefore, a person needs to change himself. And if he's not going to change, it'll happen again. But the Torah wants to tell us two things. And that's the next verse. The Torah wants to tell us about the first husband. If a man divorces his wife, in the Torah law, he can get remarried. He can remarry her. It's actually, according to some, it's a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in remarrying a divorced wife. But if she remarried, he cannot marry her again. Once she remarries, the Torah prohibits the first husband, even if he's divorced, if she divorced him, or even if the second husband died, the first husband cannot take her cannot remarry. After she had lived with the second man, you say, hey, ever see this an abomination, Lefnei Hashem? Like this artist, you should not impurify the land, which God gives you as an inheritance. So Rashi says this is an unusual expression. It's a very unusual expression after she became defiled. What could defiled? She didn't become defiled, she got married. So she got married a second time. So what is the meaning after she became tamei? It's a very interesting word in the Torah, because you make it sound like the second marriage was not good. It was good. They got married, they got divorced, and she got married a second time. What's wrong? But the Torah says, therefore, the Rashi says, to Gemara again, that this an expression comes to include a saita, a suspected of adultery, because she secluded herself with another man until her trial settlement takes place. As it says, as it's unknown whenever she's going to commit adultery, he may not have a relationship with her. Comes to teach us a whole new law, that if a person is jealous of his wife, and he thinks she had the law of a sota, he thinks she has an affair with somebody else. Torah tells us that until the end of the story, we don't know what the story is, right? He has to go to the Kohen, he has to give her the water to drink. Until that, it can take time. She's prohibited from having a relationship with her. We know the law that if she had a relationship with him, then the water does not work anymore. It's not the law of a state. So he's not allowed to have a relationship with her. She becomes tamei, she becomes impure until we finalize the situation. If she drinks the water and she lives, then she can have a relationship with him. If not, chas v'shalom, the Torah tells us what the end of the story is there. That completes the Chumash of today. Now I'll go to the Tanya of the day. We're going to start now the 14th letter of the letter. Let's look at the deduction of this letter. Many of the letters that together constitute the Igros Kodesh were written in order to arouse Jewry to contribute generously to tzedakah. I'm going to go away for 1 second.
Rabbi, I can't hear you.
The rabbi left the scene for a minute. He excused himself.
I'm sorry. Okay. So many of the letters together constitute the Igros Kodesh. Many of these letters that have this, that put together this part of the Tanya were written in order to arouse Jewry to contribute generously to tzedakah in general. in particular to the Holy Land. Specifically, the Alter Rebbe strongly encouraged the supporter of Mendel HaRadak. Mendel HaRadak and Amaram Paskira and their followers, they settled there. They went from Russia to Israel. And this is the famous Koil Chabad, which the Alter Rebbe established in Yerushalayim, still there till today. Koil Chabad fund that he founded. If you go to the Kotel, you see, turn around behind the Kotel, you'll see it says Koil Chabad. And that place has been there since the Alter Rebbe. And he established a kitchen soup kitchen, and food to help Jinn. The present letter, the Alter Rebbe places single emphasis on the merit of tzedakah for the Holy Land. Every year he declares it should be given with more vitality and with greater value, thus echoing the rhythm of the annual renewed life force that emanates from the high to the Holy Land, as he explains in this letter. So the Alter Rebbe is a beautiful letter before Rosh Hashanah, as we can prepare for Rosh Hashanah to realize what Rosh Hashanah is, and according to the Chassidus, what's the meaning of Rosh Hashanah, and the connection to Eretz Yisrael. The Alter Rebbe begins here by stating that his purpose is to arouse the old love and the fondness for the Holy Land. Alter Rebbe loved Eretz Yisrael. We know that Alter Rebbe loved Eretz Yisrael. He supported Eretz Yisrael. He got him in trouble. His support to Eretz Yisrael, and so too is all the Rabbeim, all the dynasty of all Chabad Rebbes loved Eretz Yisrael. They have a great love to Eretz Yisrael. The Alter Rebbe begins here by stating that his purpose aroused the old love and fondness to the Holy Land. It would seem that the old love refers to the ardent enthusiasm which the Chassidim had originally felt for the fund when it was freshly founded, and which had faded somewhat in the passage of years. It was the old love. Alter Rebbe wanted to remind them that when Mendel HaRadak went to Eretz Yisrael, Mendel HaRadak, you can visit his grave. He's buried in Tveria. He was the Alter Rebbe crowned him as his Rebbe. Ultimately went to Eretz Yisrael, which made the Alter Rebbe the leader of Chabad. We know the Alter Rebbe himself also wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, but he was told to stay in Russia. So, and he felt so he wanted to awaken up this love of Eretz Yisrael and the love of supporting the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. So this is the 14th letter of the Alter Rebbe, and he starts with as follows: This letter was written to arouse the old love, the chibas Eretz HaKodesh, the fondness of the Holy Land. Lias be'eretz kirish be'esh, that it shall burn like a fiery flame, mekarev ish, from the innards of man, v'leivamah, to the depths of his heart. Ki'ilu hayoy mamish, even though that this is an old story, the Alter Rebbe says, I want this to be like it happened today. Nasar Hashem ruch aleinu, that God has put a spirit upon us, ruch nediva, the spirit of generosity. It's nadiv lemalis yadam Hashem. So the people volunteer to consecrate themselves to God, the yad milev v'chava, with a full and generous hand, and which one should increase. In general, one should increase his charity. What he gave last year, he should increase this year. Midday shana b'shana. That's in general. You always should mailim b'kodesh. A person should always go higher in the concept of spirituality, and therefore he should always add to his tzedakah. So if he gave $100 last year, he should give $101 this year. Continuously rising and excelling themselves. Gemidas kodesh elyon, in keeping the measure of divinity, of the level of divinity called kodesh elyon, supreme holiness, and the name for the attribute of chacham. Ameya le'eretz hakodesh. So we've learned this in Tanya before. The Alter Rebbe says that the chachma of Atzilus, chachma of God, shines upon Eretz Yisrael in a direct way. That Eretz Yisrael is exactly the chachma of the Eibishter, the wisdom of the attribute of wisdom, the way it's the will of Atzilus exactly permeates the land of Israel. And it's Mischadis u'Misra b'Tomer. Chachma in general continues to renew itself. Chachma is never old. Chachma is always constantly becoming greater and newer, and it's totally a new concept when it comes to wisdom. So the wisdom of God continues to renew itself, and so too that wisdom that's reflected and brings about the connection to Eretz Israel, to the land of Israel, continues to renew itself. As the verse says in Deuteronomy, the verse says, Tamid Eine Hashem Elokecha bo. Moshe Rabbeinu says, what's the greatness of the land of Israel? The eyes of God are continuously upon it. Tamid, continuously upon it. Mereisha Hashanah, V'adach Hashanah. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That's the pasuk. That's the verse. Tamid Eine Hashem Elokecha bo. The Eibishter's eyes are continuously upon the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. As the Alter Rebbe will soon say, the terms eyes, what means the eyes of God? Alter Rebbe explains this whole verse. But what means the eyes of God alludes to the divine attribute of Chachma. In Kabbalah, the eye, that's the Yud, shows on Chachma, or Kodesh Elyon, the holiness from above, which radiates the land of Israel constantly, from the beginning of the year to its end. In order to explain how we derive from this verse the level of Chachma, the level of wisdom, radiates the holy land, is constantly renewed and increased, Alter Rebbe first raises the following question. The Alter Rebbe says, in this verse, it says, the Eibishter, God's eyes are upon the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. What means to the end of the year? When is the end of the year? When exactly is the end of the year? Because at the end of the year begins the new year. So what is the meaning that the eyes of God are upon the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year? When exactly is the end of the year? So really, the verse should have said, in Cain, really the verse should have said, the eyes of God are upon the land of Israel forever. Why does it say from the beginning of the end? Because the second the end of the year ends, the beginning of the year begins. So that means continuously. So why doesn't the verse say, the eyes of God are upon the land of Israel forever? That should have been the verse. It says, I'll explain to you according to Chassidut. In a verse that says, Hashem b'chachma yasad haaretz, that God established the world through wisdom. What is the meaning that God established the world through wisdom? For the fountain of Eretz Elyon, the higher earth, or the higher land, meaning the heavenly modes of the terrestrial holy land, which is the mode of the creative divine influence, which emanates and therefore is called Memale Kalama, fills the world. So what is the meaning? This refers to Sfiras of Malchus, the attribute of kingship of the world of Atzilus, called land. For it's the last and, so to speak, the lowest of the supernal spheres of the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation, and has vested itself in the created worlds and beings, so to vitalize them, right? So we all know that the sphere of everything comes from the world of Atzilus, from the world of emanation. Ultimately, what is the power, the force that gives the life to this world? Is the Malchus Atzilus, is the concept of the kingship of the world of Atzilus. That's what's called Shechina. We mentioned it has many names to Malchus Atzilus. It's called Shechina. It's called Eimatata. Many words. It has 5 different names. I think we mentioned in Tanya. But it's the concept, the way the Eibishter comes into the world, how God comes into the world. So that's the way. So we have Eretz Yisrael the way it's in Atzilus. The Eretz Yisrael the way it's in the world of emanation, which is Malchus of the world of Atzilus. Vatachteina. And where does it reflect in? The Eretz Chayfetz. That's the land of Israel. That's called Eretz Chayfetz, the land that God desires. HaMuchuvenes Kenegda Mamish, which is truly correspondent to its heavenly counterpart, Eretz Elyon. That means Malchus, the Alter Rebbe says in Kabbalah. See this. Malchus of the world of Atzilus is connected straight to Eretz Yisrael. The rest of the world needs to get its energy from lower dimensions of the world. The energy to the land of Israel is straight connected from Malchus to Atzilus, like facing face to face. Malchus of the world of Atzilus faces, which is Eretz Elyon, which is called the upper world. Kingship of the world of Atzilus, which is called the upper world, is mamish facing the issue. Whenever the word mamish. Mamish means that's the way it is. Mamish. They are facing one another. V'nikra Shema, and that's why it's called Eretz Yisrael. It's called Eretz HaChaim. It's called the land of life. Why is it called a land of life? Because it's connected to the true life. It's connected, straight connection. It's connected to where it's above in the world of Malchus, of the world of Atzilus. They're facing face to face. That's why we pray for Eretz Yisrael. It's a very important part of our existence, Eretz Yisrael. And each and every one of us have a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. Each and every one of us, wherever we might live, have a part in the land of Israel. Where does Malchus of Atzilus get its energy? From Chachma. From the Chachma of the world of Atzilus. Chachma of the world of emanation. The foundation, then, of the higher and the lower lands, issues from downward flow, a radiance from the supreme Chachma, which is the source of the supernal life. So here we have a total connection between Malchus of the world of Atzilus that is connected to the wisdom of the world of Atzilus straight to Eretz Yisrael. That's the meaning of the pasuk. Eine Hashem Elokech. There's an eye-to-eye relation between Eretz Yisrael and God and the upper worlds. As it says, the Chachma animates those who possess it. So God by Chachma establishes the earth. Thus means that the sphere of Chachma, the sphere of wisdom, diffuses its creative light upon Eretz Elyon, the upper world, the upper Eretz Yisrael, which is Malchus of the world of Atzilus, as well as upon the terrestrial counterpart, the land of Israel. So that's the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. And this happens every year, a new light. A new light comes down from Chachma every single year. The truth is, once it happens in Eretz Yisrael, it happens for the whole world. A new Chadash comes out from Chachma d'Atzilus, from the wisdom of the world of Atzilus, which is the beginning of creation, and it starts a new creative process. Every year starts off a new beginning. Rosh Hashanah. That's why it's called the head of the year. Rosh. The head is the wisdom of the year. It's the Chachma of the year. New light from Chachma comes out, and that's a whole new world. Who is part of Chachma? Because God and His wisdom is one. And that's why it's called an infinite light. So there's constantly an infinite light. That's why God says the world will never be destroyed. Because it's constantly, it's Ein Sof. It comes from Ein Sof. This earth that gives the light to the world is Ein Sof, unlimited. And that's why the world will be ultimately unlimited. There's no limit nor end to the quality of the greatness of the light. Animshich mimenu, that comes from him, is but it. Umei chachmasei, and from his wisdom. So therefore, the Eibishter is unlimited. His wisdom is unlimited. And his creative force is unlimited. Be'iloi achla iloi. Every year we have an elevation upon elevation. Ad ein takes ladachas, unlimited. Unlimited. There's unlimited in the power of creation, and there's unlimited because since it goes higher and higher, there's unlimited how high it can go. Because there's no concept of a limit of lamaila, above. You cannot give a limit to God. So God goes above and above and above and above and above, unlimited. So that's really what happens at Rosh Hashanah. That's really what happens on the new year. The Eibishter, God, so to say, brings out a Ur Chodesh, a new light that was never here in creation. This new light is a new beginning to the whole year. And this new light brings about a new whole reality to the world that was never here before in the past 5,000 years that it's in existence. It's a whole new beginning. It's a whole new chachma. It's a whole new reality in the world. And that happens first in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel, where God over there shines chachma more than any other place in the world. As the Alter Rebbe will continue, but that completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 12th day of the month, which is chapter 66 to 68. In your Tillim, it's chapters 66 to 68. Also, the three chapters of Tillim are 34, 35, and 36. I want to invite you all to Midshem at 10 o'clock. We're going to have a class, a JLI class in the portion of the week from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, teaching of the portion of the week. And in Midshem, I hope to see you there. I want to just take the learning today was I want to learn today in memory of my dear father-in-law, Rav Mordechai Tzvi, but Yosef Chaim, whose yahrzeit is the 6th yahrzeit today, in Shama Shav and Aliyah. And he should be an ambassador of goodness and kindness for his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and only simplest. And I hope to see you all in Midshem tomorrow. Continue the Fitas.